Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So now we've come to a new chapter, chapter 3, which is the Laplace transform. Before we proceed, I would suggest each one of you to print out the table of Laplace. Okay, so I've put the table of Laplace in the e-learning at the top. Okay, at the top of the page in the e-learning. So you have this table of Laplace transform together with a list of formula. Okay, so hope you guys can print out this Laplace transform table, because we are going to refer to this table along the discussion for this chapter. All right, so Laplace transform is one of the topics that many students find it quite difficult to follow. Okay, in fact, in the exam, the analysis from the final exam, this is the topic where most of the students were losing marks. Okay, so before we proceed, let us have some idea or some motivation to this chapter. Okay, so this is what we have in table of contents. Okay, many things involved in this topic. Okay, so I'm going to put it like this, right? So before this, in chapter 1 and chapter 2, you have solved first order differential equation and second order differential equation. So we have five types of equation in chapter 1, and we have basically two methods in chapter 2, method of undetermined coefficient and variation of parameter. But sometimes the problem, the differential equation that you have, is difficult to solve. Okay, so we have difficulties sometimes to solve the problem. In our context, is differential equation. Okay, to solve the differential equation in the actual domain. Okay, so the actual domain that we are referring here is the domain T. Okay, so before this, you have problem in terms of T. Okay, so if you can remember the electric circuit problem, the mechanical vibration problem, so the domain, which is the independent variable, is T. Okay, so that is the actual domain of your problem. So sometimes we have difficulties to solve the problem in the actual domain. So what we do in the Laplace transform, by the Laplace transform, is we transform the problem into a new domain. In terms of Laplace, the domain is S. This is the new domain. Okay, so we rewrite everything from T to S. Okay, and then we solve the problem in that new domain S. So the process here, actually the transformation. So we solve the problem by the Laplace transform. Okay, so here at this stage here, we find the solution in terms of S. Our answer here in terms of domain S. Okay, but since our problem is in the domain T, so we need to transform it back to the domain T. Okay, so after we get the solution in terms of S, we need to transform back to the actual domain T. So the process here actually is the inverse Laplace. Okay, so we are going to learn, at the first part of this chapter is the Laplace transform. Okay, first part. So if you refer to the table of contents, so basically from the first subtopic to this, so this is actually referring to the Laplace transform. Okay, the process of inversing the solution to get back to the actual domain is starting from here to here. Okay, so that is on the inverse Laplace. Okay, and then we are going to see 3.6 and 3.7 here. So this is everything here. Okay, so in solving the IVP and BVP and also system of differential equation, you are going to do both. You will start with the transforming into S. Okay, you perform the Laplace transform, solve the problem, and then you inverse, okay, you find the inverse Laplace to get the solution. Okay, so you apply both Laplace transform and inverse Laplace transform here. So basically we have three parts, okay, for this chapter. First, in the first chapter, we have the ft. We want to find the Laplace of ft, the first part. So the notation for the Laplace is this curly L here. Okay, so this is the notation for the Laplace transform. So in the second part here, you have the solution in terms of S. Okay, so you are given the Fs. By the inverse transform, you want to find the Ft. Okay, so in the first part here, when you find the Laplace transform, the answer is Fs. Okay, so the solution is in terms of S. Okay, in the second part, you are given the Fs, you need to get the Ft, so the inverse. In the third part, you will do both process. Okay, so you will start with the Ft. You are given the problem in terms of domain T, then you perform the Laplace transform, okay, to the Ft. So here you will get the solution in terms of Fs. So you will get the Fs, and then you perform the inverse Laplace transform to get the solution, okay, to transform back the solution into the actual domain. So finally, at the end, you get your solution. Okay, so I let the gt to be the solution in terms of t. Okay, so that's what you are going to do in the third part of this chapter. All right. So next we are going to see the definition of the Laplace transform. Okay.